Slash Riser! Infinity Wing! Guard Rise!
Slash Rise!
Burning Vulcan!
The strongest wing sparing the fire of hell.
Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have the review of the P-Bandai exclusive SHF Kamen Rider Jin Burning Falcon form. Now, this figure is not exactly new or recent, but it took me a long time to track this one down, because at the time I believe Korea did not officially take pre-orders for this specific figure, if I remember correctly. So at the time I had to pre-order from a different source, which means it costed way more money than if it were to be, officially pre-ordered. So I had to skip on this, and also at the time I wasn't a big fan of the character, because in the series this guy, the character who transforms into this form, originally was one of those crazy psychopath kids with a gun type character. So I really didn't like that creepy character. But when he died, I was actually happy, but I was really surprised to see him brought back to life, but in a more mature way. So in his mature state, this is the form that he kind of transformed into, and it looks way cooler than I expected, even in person. So most people were selling these for very high prices, so it took me like maybe 1 or 2 years, or maybe a year, to wait out for someone to sell it for about the price that I thought was right, and I finally was able to get one. Anyway, let's get on to the review. So first of all, let's see what we got in terms of the components. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously the rider himself. Hand-wise, oddly enough, in the box, this one also comes in one of those semi-open hands, like how SHF Kamen Rider Vulcan Assault Wolf, his assault type was actually packaged in way. So that's that. And here are its components. So hand-wise, there's not much. So number one, we get your typical fist type hand, so that's very good, because I believe there are times, like very rare times, where they wouldn't give you a fist. And then here we have the kind of I'm not going to say these are exactly multi-purpose, but these are actually meant for holding the weapon. Now in this case, like Kamen Rider Vulcan, his belt is the weapon, so you actually get his blade form as well. So the reason why I was really intrigued by this rider was that his belt is called the Slash Riser, while Kamen Rider Vulcan, who has a gun on his belt, is called the Shot Riser. At the time I was wondering, what if there was like a opposite, belt? So if there was a gun, what if there was a sword or, blade type belt? Then this guy basically popped out in the show, and I was surprised to the point where I actually own the DX belt of this Slash Riser. So yeah, so you can see on the belt right now, the blade is very short, so the weapon version here that you can actually hold on to the hand is longer. So, and just to make things clear, there is no peg here, so you can't attach this one onto the belt as well. And I don't know why, but I've seen some people in Korea trying to buy only just this piece from the figure. So my guess is that this piece is one of those either pieces that are easy to lose or either fragile. So keep that in mind. So make sure that you don't break this while you're taking out the package. And finally, we also get the wings. Now these are one of those riders that has wings that can open up its wings and then fly around. So which is why we get these open wings, and obviously we have those back parts where we need to detach later. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the figure. Now let's get on to the articulation aspect. Alright, so oops, let me get the stand off, and let's see what we got. So first of all, I really like the color scheme. So the progress key, or the main device that he slaps into the belt, is called is the Burning Falcon key. So I don't know what I think they could have gone with the Phoenix aspect, because when he transforms, it definitely looks more like a Phoenix rather than a Falcon. But oh well. So anyway, let's see what we got. So the head, definitely loving that menacing look. Well, at first he was definitely thought to be like an enemy, but later he becomes an ally. But it's one of those cases. But in Kamen Rider Zero-One, the more you go to the end of the series, the relationship between characters gets really vague. So yeah. Anyway, so the head, I do like the aspect here. The red and black looks good, although the only part that at first that took you a while to get used to was the actual pointy beak here on the face. So I wasn't really able to see that at first, but the more I look at it, it definitely looks more like a beak. So it took me a while to get used to that design, but now I'm used to it. So there's a lot of pointy parts on this figure, so be careful when you're touching it. So obviously we have these pointy parts, pointy parts, pointy parts, pointy parts. Like definitely Jobby the Han would have a blast touching this figure. So just be aware of what part is sharp. So the head can go down that much, up that much, and then 360 twist I would say is technically possible. Now this guy isn't exactly human, he's more of a, how should I say, cyborg, android kind of thing, because in the series there's these, you know, mechanical humans called Humagear. Well, it's not exactly mechanical humans, but basically like androids. Yeah, they're called Humagears, and these are one of those Humagears that went on rogue and now has their own, you know, thought process and such. You know, the typical situation with these kind of things. So yeah, so this guy is not exactly human. Alright, so that's that, and then let's look at the arms. So the arms are definitely interesting. So we have the shoulder armor right over here, which can move separately on its own, which means it's not connected to the main body, because you know, some figures where their shoulder armor is actually attached to the main body, which does make it sometimes difficult to move around the arm. But in this case, it's a separate piece, so no need to worry. 360 on the entire arm is possible, although this is definitely one of the more stiffest arms I've touched so far on an SHF. So the arms can go almost 90 degrees, I think, because there are some certain parts blocking the way, mostly the armor, which I will get into later. 360 on the entire this arm seems like it's not really that easy. Actually, I think it's not possible, because obviously there's these parts are actually colliding with here, so 360 is not possible. So that's a kind of a rare situation if you ask me. Now the bend here, when you bend the arm, it can only go 90 degrees, which is because the articulation, you can technically go more, but because of this armor piece, it's mostly because of the armor design and placement, it's actually blocking the way you can't fold up more. So don't try to force it here, because I've seen certain sellers sell these for extremely cheap because they either broke this or they just sand like all these parts down so it can have more articulation. So just be aware of that. And hands are your typical SHF style hands, where the ball joint is on the arm and the hand has the hole. Alright, and then the main body here, you do have your typical ab crunch. You can go side to side, so you do have your basic SHF figure art body style movement here. Although, as mentioned, be careful with these pointy parts. They can hurt if you're not careful. And also, I would say one of the more fragile parts would be these type of shorter spikes on the head here might be also fragile. They look kind of fragile, so make sure you don't drop the figure or anything. Now let's look at the belt here. So the belt, obviously like the shot riser, you can actually take it off like this. Now the peg connection here, I wish it would be much more tighter, but it still works, so no big deal here. And then okay, let me just, so as mentioned, even in the series, the belt, when this thing is on the belt, it will actually look like this. It would look like a short blade, but when he actually takes it out from the belt and uses it as the weapon, the screen changes and it swaps into this. So yeah, I guess they couldn't really figure a way out for this one, but still it works. And then you can also, because of the series, you can actually take out the key outside here as well. Definitely looking cool. Although I wish they would have actually went with the clear plastic color, because the DX toy is actually clear, and even in the show it was a clear red, but oh well. So you can take that out, and then if you were to use the blade here, then you can actually slap this key back inside the swords to give out that, you know. Okay, yeah. So to make sure that you're following the series, or making, you know, look realistic, like the show basically, or show accurate. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. So yeah, so that's that. So it's now, once again, I do wish they would stop doing these, because this writer did not use this as far as I know. So I wish they would just stop doing that. Alright, and then let's get the back before we go to the legs. Now here is the back here. Now these parts, I wouldn't say they're loose. They do stay on there as long as I'm touching the back correctly like this. But sometimes my hand would slip, and then it would actually, you know, knock off these parts. So basically these are the parts where you plug in the wings. So let me just plug in one just to give you an example. This is how they plug in as well. So a little bit issue, or some people who got this figure were saying that the wings seems a little bit shorter, or a little bit maybe too short compared to the show, and I can kind of see that, because I believe even in the show the wings were shown a little bit more larger than this. But once again, I think this is because they were remolding the previous form's wings, and then those wings were already short, so this is what happened. So I believe there is a third-party company that are selling a much more larger wing version of these, But of course, I've seen some pictures of people breaking those, so oh well. So that's the way how it is. Now the legs are pretty much what you expect. You have a nice side swivel going on here. You can go forward and then backwards, not so much because of how the back area is like that. And going to the side, it should be no problem as well. And compared to Vulcan, there's no spikes on the legs, so the legs should be safe to touch. And then you can also have a nice bend going on here, and I do like the metallic red color, and also these extra wrinkles to give out that this guy is wearing a suit kind of vibe, so that's very nice. And then the feet, we can go side to side or go 360, although a real human can't do that. Then you can go forward and backward like that, and then you have a nice toe bend as usual, and then we get a nice pivot, or kind of. Yeah, I kind of need to force it, but still there is a pivot going on here. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the figure, so I think there's only one thing to show is to bring out the is to hold the weapon and then bring out the wings. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the Jin Burning Falcon holding the Slash Riser as a weapon. Now, despite looking like a short blade compared to other swords that we've seen in other SHF figure arts, I think this is a pretty good length and it actually works well. And then the handle fits perfectly onto the hand, so you should have no issues holding the weapon, or there should be no shaking issues as well. Just make sure when you're taking pictures, make sure you actually take out the key out from the belt and then put it in the weapon version. So, you know, just make sure you're being more screen accurate. And just in case if anybody wants to know, you are able to hold the belt version onto the handle as well. But once again, this looks really ridiculous, to be honest. Then again, this is how the DX toy is. So yeah, just making sure that yeah, it is possible. Alright, so I think there's only one thing left to show, and that's the wings, and let's finish off with the rider kick. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the kick pose, and then with the wings out. Now the wings, once again, like the original back pieces here, depending on how you touch them, they can pop out a little bit easily. So just make sure that you know where you're touching, and yeah, it works pretty well. So just to make sure, for those who aren't too familiar, he can only do the rider kick while the belt, while the Slash Rider is on the belt, as far as I understand. Because if he presses the final attack button while in its hand, then he basically allows the Slash Rider to activate the slash attack rather than the kick attack. So there are some odd parts that we're not too sure about, despite how the show is, but we're basically basing this off from the toys and then the sound effects as well. So anyway, so yeah, I think this is a very cool figure. If you still have the chance to get this for a good price, I highly recommend it. Of course, do make sure that, I'm not sure if the back part, like the wings or the cover parts, are falling off easily on other people, but mine, it gets a little bit annoying time to time, but still, it's not too loose. Anyway, thanks for watching the review. This was the review of the P-Bandai exclusive SHF Kamen Rider Jin Burning Falcon form. Once again, if you guys got any questions or requests, comment below. Until then, see you guys next time.